don't know if I want to keep living if I'm not the true me, if I'm not truly being authentic. It actually took me a while to even conjure up the courage to search up like trans men on the internet and just look at photos and to just understand what the whole transition could look like and what life looks like post-transition. And it was through that, I took baby steps, but it was through that journey that I saw that, oh, these guys look normal. They kind of just look like guys.
A few years ago, one of our close friends came out as trans.
Today, with special guest Rox Guo, we talk about the challenges of reconnecting with friends post-transition.
Let's get into it. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Vulnerability Junkies.
Hello!
I wasn't sure which camera I should look at. That one?
It's the main
Right
one.
there,
Yeah.
Okay.
That's okay.
Hello.
Nice. We have a special guest today with us, Rox, who we both met in college, back in university. We were both studying engineering at the time, and we met because we lived in the same dorm. I actually don't know how you guys met.
We met through Owen.
Ah,
I think the first time I met you was ATVing in Pismo Beach.
Ooh, that's fun.
That's my first memory anyway.
yeah, I'll never forget. I was a scared freshman at the time, my first year. I remember it was like final season. I remember I was just cramming, really stressed out, and then you just walked in to one of the rooms and was like, "We're going to Niagara this weekend. Would you like to come? We're leaving in 30 minutes." And I was looking at you like, "What?" Yeah, I think you went on that trip.
I went on that trip. That was a very eventful trip, actually.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I
Super
mean,
spontaneous.
looking back, I'm like, totally should have gone. Totally should have sent it. But I remember in the moment, like, wow, this person is a character.
Yeah, even chaotic.
Yeah.
No, I think I had a lot of respect for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, very early on. But yeah,
Right on.
yeah, it's good to have you on the pod.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think before we jump into it, I'd love to check in on how everyone is feeling first. So, do you want to
Sure, I'll
start us off?
kick us off into the temperature check.
Mm-hmm.
I emotionally am at like a 7.5, I think, out of 10. And then physically, I'm at like a 4. I'm really gonna try to like conjure the energy to get to stay here, to stay present.
Yeah.
But I might be dipping in and out if I'm being honest.
Mm.
And then emotional tone. I think I'm feeling open, but a little hesitant, if I'm being honest.
Mm.
Like a little cautious. I can
Mm-hmm.
talk a bit more about that once we get into the topic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can go next. I think, yeah, physically I'm at like a 7, but emotionally I'm like at an 8 or a 9. Yeah, I think, yeah, feelings wise, similar tones of like excitement, almost exhilaration.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, it means a lot to
Okay.
me that you're here.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, at the same time, also a little scared, a little nervous
Yeah.
for the conversation, but yeah.
Okay. Physically, I would say I'm also at a 7, mostly because I got the COVID vaccine 2 days ago.
Mm.
Emotionally wise, yeah, somewhere like 8, 9, 9.5, maybe even.
Oh, yeah.
And that leads into the tone, which is I'm definitely nervous. I can feel my heartbeat
Whoa.
racing a bit.
Nice.
Yeah, excited, super grateful. Have you guys as friends, but also to like join me on this podcast. So, yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Wow. I felt that too. Nice temp check.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So on to today's topic, which is why I'm a little nervous and anxious. So Rox currently is male, identifies as male.
Correct.
But when I first met you 10 years ago, I think actually, almost on the dot,
Been a while.
you were female.
Yeah.
And it's been a hell of a journey for you for the last more than 10 years.
Yeah.
From conversations that we've had past. But yeah, I think I wanted to have you on the pod today because I find myself I care about you deeply
Yeah.
as a friend, and I've always wanted to be supportive of you throughout the journey.
Yep.
But I've also like been like scared about like how I should do that.
Yep.
Just because I haven't been there. So I'm always scared about like, good intentions, but like accidentally causing harm
Yep.
or hurt.
Yep.
So that's where kind of the nervousness comes from. But at the same time, I know that you've put in a lot of work over the years. I think going back over 2 decades, as like we've talked about, like both in terms of like processing your own stuff,
Yep.
but as well as like that meta level of like, how do I make it easier for my friends to connect and support me as well?
Yep.
Which I deeply appreciated. I think you've been writing a few docs that you've been sending around to friends that
Yeah.
have actually really hit home for me, and at a weird kind of meta level. Like I really appreciate you doing that. So yeah, I kind of want to just unpack your journey, so I can like better help like understand what it's been like. What like, I guess in your doc you touched on some of the higher level things, but I'm wondering if we could maybe go a little deeper and hopefully connect on that, and find the common ground there.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm feeling a lot just from that opening. And I think this is the conversation I absolutely need and want. So yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it very openly, very lovingly, and very genuinely and authentically. For better or worse, actually, unfortunately, I think mostly the gender has been it's become like a political topic, and it's a little bit of a charged conversation. I don't think it needs to be. Gender can be actually really fun. I think gender is super fun. So yeah, let's just talk about it openly. And I think there's quite a bit to unpack. Happy to share my personal journey, but also like gender and the gender binary as a larger topic is something that will serve all of us, like cis or trans, as we like talk about it and share each other's experiences with each other. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very much like looking forward to getting into it. Even listening to the description that Kevin opened with, there's parts of that I'm curious like how it landed for you. Like some of the ways he described it, I would have been afraid to say overtly. For instance,
Yeah.
the description of saying that like when we met you, you were female. That like part, I'm like, oh, like I don't like if I have no idea what's going on internally when you hear that.
Yeah.
That's not the way that I would have framed it, but like
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is a situation of me walking on eggshells or like I might have said like
Yeah.
at the time, like when I met you, people called you Roxanne,
Yep.
and people thought of you as female,
Yeah.
rather than saying you were female. And I'm wondering if like that distinction actually matters a lot for you, or like if all of this is kind of irrelevant.
Yeah. Thank you for asking that. I'll first start off with thank you for taking a stab at introducing the topic, right? I have fully embraced giving grace to my friends and family and those who care about me. The opportunity to say what they feel like is like they're doing their best, right, to describe their interpretation. It's absolutely, I think it's my responsibility to extend that grace, because no one's out there to none of these people are out there to hurt me. But the way, right, so that was definitely the first time someone has described it in that way, and it's very factual, and I think it's correct. But I think, Jamie, what you're asking me is how did it make me feel?
Yeah.
I feel okay with it, and I also want to just mention I'm only one trans person in the very big trans community, and every trans journey is unique, and there's the phenomenon that happens for any minority group where you have like a token minority person is you know, you tend to like generalize and
Mhm.
so other trans people might not feel as good about it, but you know, given the context that we're in and the safe space and our relationship and the trust that's there, I don't feel hurt. It didn't hurt me anyway. So we can dive into it. I think I touched on this in the doc, which I have to be so grateful that my friends, two of you, absolutely included, helped me feel so safe and loved
Hmm.
that I could write it out and share it. Albeit it was frightening to share, but I was able to share it. Right. The truth of the matter is I've always known that I was a boy. Since I was about 5 or 6. And I was born in China, so it was China at the time. But you know, once puberty hit, it kind of just pulled me into womanhood. So when I'm referred to as, you know, 10 years ago I was a girl, I think you described it really accurately, Jamie, that like the world perceived me as a girl, but how I felt inside was different. And coming to terms with that and really understanding how I felt inside and then having the courage to act on it was a whole different thing. But yeah, I'll pause there. But I think the way you described it was totally fine. But how it, yeah, and it's and that's what I want this conversation to be about. It's the intent here is to open up to each other, and the only way to make progress really is to open up and hear the truth. And I feel it. I feel my friends being cautious. And the truth is, I also don't have the answer. I'm also learning about gender, about my own feelings towards gender, and the facts around, like the history of gender in modern societies. So yeah, I absolutely don't, you know, yeah, I just don't have all the answers. And conversations like this, I think, is the only way forward, if you will.
Yeah.
So we'll just like figure it out together. Yeah, give a shout out to a dear friend, Sue Hai. I think this was probably, I can't remember, some years ago. There was this gathering, and I was trying to be open about being trans, and it was really hard, and well, I almost cried. And he just kind of like offhandedly said, "Don't worry about it. We'll figure it out together." And yeah, and we will. Just yeah, time, patience, and grace, and yeah.
One thing that comes up for me as you're describing all of this is
Yeah.
it sounds like you're taking a lot of responsibility for, I guess, making this space, making sure that, like, ironically, like, you know, that you've had a lot to deal with yourself, but also making sure that, like, you make that space for, oh, like, this is what it was for my loved ones and my friends, like, and giving grace to, like I guess almost like our version of the memories. And I'm wondering if that, like, and you're saying that I guess, like, it's okay. But one thing I'm wondering is, like, are you doing a lot of emotional labor throughout all of that?
Yes, of course. Yeah. Okay, so ideally, our education system, you know, like serves us, and we were all taught the right language to use, the way to approach this, and that, you know, that transness is not bad, and if you ever have a friend who's considering like questioning their gender, like this is the way to support them. And what I just said is not even exclusive to like to gender. It's like as a whole, like, you know, I feel like the education system didn't prepare me very well for anything in life. But whole other topic, right? Whole other topic. But the gender piece, I think it's the thing that has been really missing for me in this second coming out journey, right? Is this lack of celebration.
Mm.
I've only recently come to terms with the fact that I grew up with internalized homophobia and internalized transphobia. And let alone being celebrated, trans was always something that was like, it was almost as something that's like monstrous. Is like there's something deeply wrong with you, mentally and physically, if you decide to medically transition, if you choose to be trans. Also, trans is not really a choice, but so we model ourselves off of what we see, and a lot of what we see is in media. So everything I saw in media was just being trans was almost like being deformed in some way. But it was only until it was during the pandemic. So I transitioned during the pandemic. It was just all the lone time that I spent looking at myself in the mirror and really come to terms with the dark thoughts, let's just call them, that I think I realized, okay, I don't know if I want to keep living if I'm not the true me, if I'm not truly being authentic. So it actually took me a while to even conjure up the courage to search up like trans men on the internet, just look at photos, and to just understand what the whole transition could look like and what life looks like post transition. And it was through that I took baby steps, but it was through that journey that I saw that, oh, this is these guys look normal. They kind of just look like guys. But still, again, coming back to the lack of celebration, it's like no one's ever gonna. I've gotten a few like celebratory encouragements from fellow trans folks, but other than that, most of the allyship has kind of looked like a little wary, but perhaps wary because they like y'all don't know this is something to celebrate. Not because you're like purposely not celebrating. It's like you just don't know. But transness is kind of it's a big deal in the sense of it's so deeply ingrained in your identity, and it's something you had to suppress for so long. So once you have the courage to finally say like,
this is
fuck
me.
it, like I'm just gonna be me.
Right.
Like I want people to like celebrate that and be like, hell yeah, like you did this thing that's like really fucking hard. And man, it just emotionally and physically, I went through top surgery. That shit was hard. Going under the knife. It was also I think it didn't, like, my parents didn't really grok it of like, why am I voluntarily going under the knife, because technically there's no part of my body that is like needs to be removed. But for lack of a better way to describe it, how I told my mom is kind of like, well, just imagine like dad woke up tomorrow with boobs. Like, what do you think he's gonna say? Like, oh, I guess I'll just live with it. No, he's probably gonna try to remove it. It just took me like 20 plus years to get to that place where I can tell myself, this doesn't belong to my body, and I would like it removed. But but yeah, I mean, that like top surgery, getting my boobs removed was like rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll pause
Well,
there because I said a
yeah.
lot.
Yeah. I mean, just definitely wanted to give you space to say your piece. I think the things coming up for me, one of them is that, honestly, the celebration piece was like totally lost on me, and I'm really glad that you said that because it literally never occurred to me
Yeah.
as a point of like celebration. Um, although now that you've said it, it's like very obvious. Like
Yeah.
completely makes sense. Like there's kind of two different things here that feel like obviously worth celebrating. One of them is just the actually there's kind of like three things. One of them is the deep self knowledge that you're coming to.
Yeah.
It's like, whenever you notice any friend like really finally understanding something about themselves.
Mm.
And then I think that's very tightly tied to that is acceptance. It's when you notice a friend
Yep.
that's always struggled with some part of their identity,
Yep.
just say like, this is who I am, and be able to own that. That's the thing to celebrate. And then the last element is just the courage in that even after you've gotten to those points of self-knowledge and acceptance, the courage to like, especially go through like a physical transformation, both from top surgery and from hormones, is like, those are not like trivial, like, I'll just try it.
Yeah.
Kind of steps. Those are huge
Yeah.
transformative things that like to me feels is maybe underplaying it a little bit, but in the same way that if someone said that I'm about to set off on a voyage to climb Mount Everest by myself, I'd be like, holy shit, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
this is, I'm not trying to equivalate those two things, but there's an element in both
Sure.
of them that is like celebrating the courage and conviction it takes to cross that. So I'm glad you brought that up, and those definitely feel like things to celebrate. So like
Yeah.
I'm really happy for you that you got those pieces in a line and you managed
Yeah.
to align this like sense of the internal sense of self with external.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pause there. Like, how did that land for you when I was describing the elements of celebration there?
Yeah, you basically just hit the nail on the head. And I want to touch on something before I forget. I was talking about this in therapy. I've obviously been reflecting the trans community. First, I want to start with acknowledging, we're all going through our own struggles. There's a lot happening in the world right now. The trans community is feeling a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, and I think that's a combination of the amount of oppression that we feel growing up, having to suppress that part of ourselves that we know is true and we know is there.
Mm.
But we also know or believe that the world will not accept. So hide that part, like push it aside. It's that in addition to the amount of anti-trans bills are being passed and are still trying to be passed across the country. That put me, I can't speak for others, but I say I put me in a state of fear. And I want to say panic, and I don't think that is an over-exaggeration when I say it. When I was coming out from my pandemic rock, that was my state of mind. And I want to be really honest and genuine with that, because that put me in a position of, like, I don't know, defense. I don't know if I was being defensive, but it was a place of skepticism of, will my friends accept me? Will they understand the new me? How will they react? And I had more I had more contact with news than I had with y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So my perception was skewed. It almost made me believe that, I was predicting your responses based on what I had seen, what I was reading in the news, and what's happening in the country.
Mm.
And I had to adjust that, and I mentioned this in my doc, and I literally do think I do think I like physically like ran away, because most of y'all live in the city, and I ran away to the greater East Bay. So coming back to our wonderful friend circle, that's an amazing support group, I had to really work to adjust that mindset. And the way to adjust it, I think it was to be vulnerable and almost in a way say like let myself be hurt, like let that be a possibility. If I just like screw it, like I have to be me, and I'm gonna give the biggest, most me I can to my friends, and absolutely they might hurt me, but I don't really have another option. If I don't open up to that possibility, I'm just gonna lose these friendships, because you'll never actually know who I am. I might keep creating that distance, keep holding up that wall. And yeah, I really do think the conversation has just begun.
Mm.
Yeah, like the last 6 months maybe is when I started crawling out of the rock, and yeah, I was telling my therapist this. None of my friends are out there to get me. No one has reacted in a way that has made me feel hurt or confused or not accepted, or let alone like hated or like excluded. There's been, I can feel the, like I already mentioned, the eggshell, like you said, eggshell. I can feel the caution.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to talk about that, and so I would love
Yeah.
to talk about, hear the two of you talk about it. Because yeah, you probably have more questions. Maybe we can try to soften the caution.
Yeah.
I would love to get into the caution thing, but there's like one specific thing a little bit earlier I want to talk about.
Yeah.
So on the note of celebration, to go a little bit further on that, I think that part of it is that I haven't heard many accounts of. I've heard a lot of accounts of like trans people describing really intense dysphoria, but I haven't heard as much about the flip side of like post-transition, like joy or positive experience that emerges from that. I'm not sure if that is a part of the experience or not, but if it is, then like
it is.
Right.
Absolutely.
So like I want to hear about that, so that I have like this like marker in my head that's not just about struggle, but is about like the thing that is that like your own internal celebration, so we can help join into that.
Yeah. Cool. I would love to answer that, and I want to get to Kevin.
For sure.
Oh, euphoria. It's like endless. My God. Just I look at myself in the mirror every morning. Okay, let's start with like I start with the big stuff and then little details. Having my boobs removed was incredible. So the surgery was double mastectomy. Yeah, there's lots of information on Google, but my boobs were too big for the less invasive surgery. So I just had to have like 2 cuts, fat removed, pull the skin down, stitch it up. Took 3 weeks off from work, pretty much was like a vegetable on the couch.
Yeah.
But yeah, healed beautifully. There's absolutely a scar. Scars heal differently for every person. So my scars are quite visible. I'm extremely proud of my scars. And there's this meme, like this trans mask urge to take off your shirt all the time. It's very real. It is very real.
I love that.
Yeah. Y'all know I climb quite a bit. I climb shirtless as much as I can. I feel like I have like a hall pass because of my scars.
Right.
It's like, yeah. And nipples are hilarious. They look like little pepperonis. So the fun fact, the male nipple is actually like, this is what my surgeon told me at least, nickel size on average.
Okay.
And the female nipple is typically a quarter size.
Okay.
So essentially, when you get double mastectomy, you can opt out for no nipples. It's super cool. You just have like a bare chest. I opted for nipples. I wanted my little pepperonis. So he literally just cut off the, I don't know, he made it a little smaller and then just like stuck it back on.
Wow.
Outrageous, I still have sensation. He said something like half of the patients will have some sort of sensation, like you can feel nipples, and then something, I'm gonna butcher the stat, but I'll just say like 5% actually have like central sensation on them. And I very recently started developing central sensation on my right one, which I'm like freaking out about because my nipples used to be really sensitive. I really miss it. But yeah, it's building back. Like sometimes just like out walking around, I like have to do this because it's just like it's a building sensation. So it's just I can feel it like tingling. Sometimes, yeah. Anyway, if you ever see me do this, I'm like it's tingling. Anyway, okay, so that's top surgery. If I was born chestless, I would have loved swimming from such a younger age. Like water sports was always so awkward for me because of long hair. And then 2 is because of swimsuit. The female swimming suit is like so sexualized, and yeah, don't even get me started with a bra. If y'all have never worn a bra, you should try wearing a bra. It is so uncomfortable. Y'all have never worn a bra. You should try wearing a bra.
Wow,
it's part of breaking the gender binary. Just it's not comfortable. So getting rid of that was also amazing. And down to more smaller stuff, smaller euphoria. I never thought I was a fan of hair, but I absolutely don't mind it. My leg hair has gotten a little bit thicker. I'm starting to grow like little whiskers over here. Just kind of looking at my dad to understand my genes. I'm probably not gonna have a lot of facial hair. It's fine. Yeah, muscle retention, which is great. What else? What did my friend call it? There's like this little hair trail that goes like at the bottom of your belly.
like in
happy trail.
Okay.
Happy trail.
That's not what it's called. Oh my god.
I mean, that's what it's called.
There's different names for it, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It might be correct. I just haven't heard that term before, and I'm like, it's really funny.
What did you?
High school for me was like it's like an airplane strip, is what someone.
That usually refers to something else. That's usually like female pubic hair situation.
Oh, interesting.
Leading to.
Yeah. Interesting.
Anyway, I started growing that. That was kind of fun.
So I mean, like you're describing right now some of the features, but like, what is the emotional tone of this when you see all these new things come up for you? That presumably feels more aligned with your internal sense.
Yes.
Is it just like an intense joy that you feel? Is it just a sense of satisfaction? Is it just like finally I'm okay? Like, how does this actually manifest emotionally for you?
Happiness. Yeah. From that alignment. I also feel calmer. The reason why earlier in the podcast I kind of you used a description for me and I said chaotic because I do generally feel like I was pretty chaotic back then, and the chaos is a little bit due to my personality, but it was also a lot to do with just how misaligned I felt, and there was a lot of turmoil internally, and that manifested into just chaos externally. So the calmness, there's this sense of ease, lack of effort needed to feel happy. My baseline has just gone like way up. I'm sure I smile more and just like overall joy. Because dysphoria is very distinct. Like you will know if you feel dysphoric. It's like you feel uncomfortable. You're just like something is wrong. Kind of like your right foot's in your left shoe. So yeah, euphoria is yeah, life is easier. I'm like, we're all exercising gratefulness, but just like gratefulness has become the baseline, which is just a blessing. And like, yeah, just amazing.
I think like what I'm hearing from all of this is like it's congruence,
Right.
which is what I take away from the alignment thing. I think that was actually one thing that I really missed. Even like when you sent me messages about like, I'm coming out like fully like as a guy now.
Yeah.
I think I texted you back and I was like, yeah, even as like a cautious, like, wait, I'm gonna like, how do I, this is celebratory, right? And
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah,
yes, embrace me. And I was
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
sick. Okay, sick. Because I think
You're
like,
phew.
yeah, no, I think like the thing for me is like, I think it's been really enlightening to hear that actually it is fundamentally about the congruent bits. Because
Mhm.
that I can definitely relate to. Obviously to a different level of magnitude in a different arena. But every time that I've felt that, we've talked about this multiple times in multiple situations where it's like, if I feel like I'm not being fully honest with myself, or if I
Yeah.
can't fully just,
Yeah.
something feels like it's out of place.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the structure feels
Yeah.
unstable and wonky.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
what I'm hearing for you, that's actually what it is.
Yeah.
Only I guess there's two aspects of it. It's not just internal congruence,
Yeah.
but then also physical congruence.
Yeah.
And what's coming to mind for me as well is that I think like what from the outside we're perceiving is just the outside stuff.
Yeah.
So I think like even when I was like, oh, it's worth like in my mind, it's like it's worth celebrating that this physical transformation has happened.
Yeah.
And what I'm learning from this conversation is that it's like deeper than that, where it's like it is about like I've been fundamentally misaligned for like my entire life.
Yeah.
And now finally the bricks are.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And some alignments are easier than others.
Yeah.
I wish gender alignment was as easy as like doing a career switch. Okay, let's not underestimate that. That's also really difficult.
And that's fair though.
But you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
alignments. I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, it is just finally. I've heard other people describe it as like their life has come to focus. It's like come into focus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that
and-
checks.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know how this analogy is gonna hit. Imagine if the two of you. I don't even really need to give this thought exercise for you guys. I think you get it. But imagine you woke up tomorrow. You're like in a female body. That's the actually. I don't know how you guys. I'm sure there's some.
I feel like I'd have fun for about
Exactly.
30 minutes, and then I'd be like, okay,
How
but
do I go back?
But yeah, I want to go
Yeah,
back now.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like once the
Exactly.
novelty wears off, I'll be like, this is not a good resting state, though.
Yeah, exactly.
I think maybe
Yeah.
the nuance of that example though is it's the I didn't ask for this bit.
Yes.
The waking up part. Like the nuance is in that, right? I'm imagining that that's really where the conflict is.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm still in turmoil about this is gonna my lack of education in like trans medicine is gonna show here. I'm still in turmoil about allowing like minors to medically transition. I hear a lot of what I hear is, oh, there's we don't know, like puberty blockers. We don't know that, like the long-term effects of that. I don't know. I just know there are definitely kids who are so dysphoric that they're suicidal if they don't transition. I know as a teenager, I was incredibly dysphoric, but somehow I made it through. But the part that feels very similar of like I didn't ask for this is I was a boy, and in the age of 11 I got my period, and that's basically the beginning of the end. And I didn't ask for it, and I said in the doc like nobody asked for puberty, but I would have hands down traded a boy's puberty over a girl's puberty.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously no one gave me that choice, and I didn't know how to ask for it. So yeah, I don't have much to say other than that, but I just know I can share as my own experience, and it was tragic watching the boys go through the boys' puberty and me going through like growing breasts and periods, and It's just like woman stuff that was like forced into, like shaving my armpit, wearing a bra. Bras are so confusing. They don't actually hug your breasts very well, and they make your makes your boobs like typically make your boob look bigger than they actually are. And I don't know. I don't know. Underwears were too revealing and constantly feeling over sexualized. I'm sure a lot of women relate to this. Um, yeah, there's a lot to be celebrated about womanhood. Just not when you identify as a boy.
That's the I think that's the mic
That's
drop
the
moment.
crux. That's the crux.
Yeah. It's nuts.
All right, I definitely want to give time to the questions you're throwing back to us since I like aggressively
Yes.
rerouted. So I think you were asking about like facets of the caution and the walking on eggshells.
Yes. Talk to me about that.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's an understanding thing. I feel much more at ease now, knowing that it's about the congruence thing, because that's something that I can deeply relate to. Obviously, different arenas, but like
Sure.
I'm there. I think that bit is really clarifying for me, and yeah, I think it is an understanding thing. Like you mentioned, you prefaced this as well when you sent me the doc, like or in the doc itself, I think, where you're like, yeah, I want to write this so that like you guys can understand more about like where I'm coming from, and I think that's totally right. If the goal is to like, what I'm hearing is the goal is like, it would be great if my friends didn't feel like they were on edge every time they were like hanging out with me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. And I think it's that. I think it's the understanding bit, at least for me. Yeah, and just like, because I think eggshells happen when it's like you don't really know what's going on for the other person.
Yep.
And you're like, am I going to accidentally bump into something?
Yep.
And so, yeah, I think totally right that like with greater understanding comes greater empathy, and then like
Exactly.
yeah, just comfort.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right on.
I think for me, some of it is definitely just like general fear of like throwing hurt onto like you, and you're already like it's already obviously hard for you to come back into this environment as in like a very different form.
Yeah.
It's very congruent for you now and it was not before. But I think that there's another layer for me where it's never clear to me how much you want to talk about some of these issues because I think I'm actually still a little unclear on when people talk to you about like trans issues as cis people. It's not clear to me how much you're like, yeah, like I want to talk about this. So there's clarity versus, fuck, I wish you would just treat me like the same way that you treat all your other cis male friends, and like we don't have to talk about this. We can talk about the things you would normally talk about.
Oh, I love that question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I keep saying this, but I really have to. I have to say it again. Like every trans person is may very well give a different answer. So
Totally.
I will say, I embrace my transness, and there's a term in our community called stealth, and it's essentially like passing. So, if I remove these earrings, which make me look a little in on the queer side, but they're just earrings. If I take them off, I think a lot of people just assume I'm a guy, like a cis man. And I'll take that privilege when I want to. But if I'm in a like people I want to get to know or people that I care a lot about, I absolutely want them to know I'm trans, and that's an identity I embrace. In that sense, how do I best describe this? It's I definitely don't want my friends to be colorblind in a way of I'm not a chameleon. Like I don't have any intent of becoming cis. There's that 30 years, 20 actually, the first 10 years of my life was not, it was like, you're a kid.
Sorry, if you just saw me react, had nothing to do with what's happening in the room. I just saw a mouse running around outside.
Oh my God.
But I just wanted to know that if you saw a reaction from me, it had nothing to do with what you were saying.
I see it. Okay. Hope it doesn't get the food on the table. there's 20 years of womanhood that I want to reconcile with, I need to reconcile with. I'm still processing, and it might still take me a while to keep processing that. But it's very much a part of me. I'm not getting rid of it. It's not going anywhere. It won't go anywhere. It can't go anywhere. And that's what makes me trans. And that's what makes me so powerful and proud to be myself. There's 20 years of experience as a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've rebirthed and come to life as a man. And it's a whole different life. And I approach what is it? Like in middle school, I think I was using, you know how you refer to your guy friends, you might say like, "What's up, man?"
Yeah.
Just that ending, like man or bro,
Yeah.
or dude. I used to use that lingo all the time in middle school and high school, and at some point I dropped it,
Mm.
and it's like coming back, and
Whoa.
yeah, and it's fun. I'm just experimenting. I'm playing around with language and clothing and the way I conduct myself, maybe even like hand movements, some gestures I used to do as a girl, and it still feels right for me to do it, right? So for me it's I'm going to do the thing that I feel that feels right to me regardless of my gender. And I'm just defining me.
Mm.
And it's super fun. And I've I'm I hesitate to say this out loud because now I feel like I'm gonna somewhat be held accountable to actually do it. I would love to do drag as like do like drag queen as like a trans man.
Whoa,
Mm.
interesting.
There's just yeah yeah, there's so much more to explore. I'm just really excited to be alive and be so able and privileged to try stuff and do stuff. Yeah.
I appreciate that a lot. I think like from basically wanting to own all of it
Yeah.
and not like neglecting a certain part. It's
No.
like all of this was and still is like me.
Yeah.
And like it's integrated into you.
Yeah.
In a way, which
Yeah.
is kind of cool.
I have a hot topic. It's not a topic though. I have a hot suggestion.
Okay.
I have this secret desire for all of my friends to be a little more trans. And let me describe what that means. Let me elaborate what that means.
Okay.
So trans, my understanding, the definition is just exploring and being the gender that you weren't assigned at birth.
Mm.
So for y'all, that's feminism. Let's just say that. I think there's a lot to learn and have fun with exploring the possibilities of the other gender in yourself.
Mm.
And I say this is a hot suggestion because it's it's do whatever serves you. But based on my research and self-education about gender and the gender binary, it really doesn't serve our society for us to have these like men box and women box, and nothing in between, and super restricting. And yeah, maybe we'll find another time to talk about it. I'm actually curious to turn it back to you two.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, anything you guys wanted to bring up?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in like learning mode in a way. I think it's really cool for me to hear that like, it's not that it doesn't sound the right way to honor your journey is to just be like, okay, you're a dude now. Like in the traditional cis sense. It's like there's, I guess there's the transness is part of it. And so the question that comes up for me is like, I guess as someone who wants to be supportive, like how do you want your friends to honor that full part of you?
Yeah, oh my gosh, I love that question. You guys are amazing. These are great questions. I this is analogous to the pronouns thing. I'll also acknowledge I started with she they, she her, and then she they, and then they them, and then he they when I go by he they now. Which for the record is just both pronouns work fine for me. It's to your discretion is how I like to say it. If you want to be, you know, my partner Karina, for example, she is such an extremely powerful ally. She goes in depth to educate herself about the trans journey, about the trans community, any anti-trans bills. She stays up to date about everything trans, more than me. And that to me is so empowering because it's tiring. It's tiring trying to figure out myself and to keep up with everything that's happening around this hot trans topic. Obviously, I don't expect my friends to do such things because we all have your own lives and a lot of your own problems and self-discovery to do as well. So if you can handle it and you feel empowered to do it, self-educate, reach out to me. I'm happy to talk about things to any depth. It just takes time and energy and effort to connect and, spend the time to do the talking and do the connecting. So the other extreme, if you will, is kind of like do the bare minimum, which is essentially, is how I describe it to my friends. You got to practice with the they them pronoun. It's not just going to come naturally. I do want to give this example though of, if you saw a wallet on the street and didn't know whose it was, you would pick up the wallet and say, oh, someone left their wallet. You're referring to a single person using they them pronouns. So linguistically, it is embedded in our language to refer to single people using they them pronouns. It's just when you know the person, you know their gender, it's a struggle to use they them for a gendered identity. In any case, it's an effort. If you don't want to put in the effort, it's totally valid. Just use he, him for me. I'm fine with that. So same with the allyship. It's, I'm not gonna sit here and try to dictate to anybody that, yeah, I deserve this kind of allyship. Like I want this kind of allyship. I just don't think it's fair. I don't think it's realistic. I don't think that's just not how I want to conduct my friendships. Did I answer your question? It's, if you want to dig deeper, if this topic feels important to you, if our friendship feels, important in that way, then let's talk about it more.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I want to pull out a little bit more is specifically how you're trying to, I guess, integrate the first 20 years versus now. How can, I guess, we as friends and supporters also, I guess, support that process?
That integration? I don't know if you can.
Okay.
I think just keep hanging out.
Okay.
And doing cool stuff together. Yeah, I think it's something I have to reconcile for myself. And yeah, every time I'm faced with someone who knew me in those 20 years, I have to exercise this like bravery to like come forth and come out. It's a never-ending journey. Yeah, and that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you that obviously this is predominantly a thing for you to process. I mean, you can't psychologically process something for someone. That's just not how that works.
Yeah.
But I do wonder if hearing things like, when I reflect back on those memories, the things that shine through are not anything to do with your gender. It's personality traits that I still see in you very clearly. You know, like boldness and like self-confidence and courage. Like those have been consistent threads. Like comfort with conflict is not the right word, but like comfort with confrontation, and just like very direct conversation. So I think the question here is, does reconnecting with friends that knew you back in that era prior to your transition and hearing about their memories that are just like totally unrelated to gender, is that actually helpful for integration, or does it not really matter?
It's probably helpful. And I speak from a place of love when I say that, because those memories are precious, right? We're never gonna get those times back. And I've come to a place where I trust that my friends enjoyed those times with me for me, and not, as feels weird to say, but like not because I'm like this specific kind of girl, you know?
Yeah.
It's like it's me. And that's the part I'm holding on to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what I'm taking away from I can't emphasize enough that there's a big click for me, the incongruous thing.
Yeah.
Because now it's almost like you were there, but you just weren't fully there in a way where it's like, because that also is kind of relatable in a different way, where like sometimes people like, you know, they're afraid of parts of them and they hide them, like even gender or not gender, it could be anything, right?
Exactly.
And like I've had friends like that too, where it's like, you know, there's a part of them that they don't really just show.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that, you know, me hanging out with them, like it's not like it's not like it's like false.
No.
You're just not fully there.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I think that mental shift is really helping, like just reconciling like the past memories with the present memories.
Yep.
Because it's like you were there. Now we just see all of you.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And I will say, I can't remember how you fully replied to me, but it was really loving, and it made me feel at home, is how I'll describe it. I can't remember what you said. I thought it was something around lines of welcome to manhood or something like that. I can't, maybe I'm like
I think I said welcome to the club.
Welcome, yeah, something like that, something like that. And that totally felt amazing for me. Yeah. I would say like don't worry too much about, you know, don't worry too much about like you want to treat me as one of the guys, but then am I actually one of the guys? Like, do I want to be treated as fully as one of the guys? I think the answer to that is I would not mind being just treated as one of the guys, but I guess just because you're such close friends, you'll know that there is that past for me that just allows me to see things with slightly different perspective. And yeah, and I won't be shy to show that, you know, sometimes when I I see things in a slightly different way because I've literally been in the shoes of a woman, and now I'm in like male privilege, and it's things are jarring.
Well, the guy's shoes are way more comfortable.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Male privilege, there's a lot to unpack there as well.
Yeah, seriously. Okay. That's cool. I'm like interpreting that as like an invitation to also just feel it out.
Absolutely.
Just because it's like, yeah, like you're saying, it's not like we can just immediately bucket you into like cis male category, which I'm hearing that like, you know, it could be fine, but it's not exactly fully authentic either.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. My dream one day is that there's just like no gender, and we just kind of like see each other as like your core like soul and
Mm.
like, you know, the love and the spirit that you bring to the world. And you just see that energy. And I recognize like Jamie has that energy and then Kevin has that energy.
Mm.
Instead of like, I don't know, this Asian man. Like, you know, it's
Yeah,
just
right.
like so meaningless. But baby steps.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else top of mind for you?
Nice.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Top
How
it off.
are... What's that?
Want to top it off with a hug.
Oh, we should check out and then we
We
can
check out. We do
can
that
hug.
after.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you want to go first? Like, how are you feeling now? Kind of as we're heading out.
Oh, I feel like the conversation's just started.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. This has been amazing. This just feels like an invitation back into my, I don't want to call it my old life, but just my friends, my family. It's felt a bit like leaving home for college.
Mm.
You know, you got to leave your parents to like really grow.
Mhm.
But now I'm like, you know, coming back to the fam and
Yeah.
feeling it out. And yeah, I describe it to my therapist as like, you know, like the wolf pack.
Mm.
I just feel like I'm like, I like left the pack and I'm coming back and I'm like a little wary. I'm like, I've changed a little bit, but not really.
Mhm.
Like,
Still me.
yeah. And like people are kind of like sniffing my butt. I'm kind of sniffing people's butt. I go to dog parks a lot, so I see a lot of dog
Right.
behavior, but you know what I mean. I'm like feeling
No.
each other out. And
100%. Yeah.
yeah, and y'all have just as much right and space to feel it out as much as I do,
Mhm.
you know, because nobody has the answer.
Mm.
So,
You gotta sniff a lot of butts.
yeah.
Amazing.
Yes.
If you had to give numbers to physical and emotional energy.
Physically, probably like an 8 now. My some of the pain have actually gone away.
Ooh.
Uh, emotionally, I've calmed down a little bit. I think like loosened up a bit as we started talking. It's probably like an 8.58, but yeah,
Nice.
really
Nice.
good.
Do you have another emotion word that you would like to use for how you're feeling now?
Ooh, just grateful
Nice.
and happy.
Mm. What am I feeling? I'll go next. I'm feeling 8s across the board. I think physically and emotionally.
Right on.
Pretty. Actually, give it a. It's like 8.5, maybe pushing 9. Honestly, but in a different. The flavor is different. I feel like. Yeah, for me, I think there was a click, so I feel quite connected, like more connected to you,
Right on.
than before, which I'm really happy about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
What am I feeling? Yeah, it's like joy and compassion. Yeah, I'm really happy that we had this conversation. And yeah, I just feel like I can relate more. And it's a lot, I think, to be compassionate about. Just like your struggle, your journey, all of the work that you've done before, all of the work that you continue to do, the emotional labor, like honestly, kind of like for us. But I also recognize that from your perspective, it also it's like you want to be able to receive that love and like appreciation and support from your friends, but you also know that it's going to take some work to do that, you
Yeah.
know. And I see that, and so yeah, there's a bit of compassion there for just like the struggles that you've had, are having, and probably will have going forward. But also that like every time you talk about it, it's like there's so much strength in how you describe it. Yeah, I don't know. There's a resilience there of like, I think a lot of the times it's like you'll say something and you're like, oh, but it's fine. I'll figure it out, you know, which is an attitude that I really respect and appreciate.
I've definitely come to embrace that for me, resistance to any of the trans hate or the anti-trans things that are happening in the world is to just be me and never stop being me and to be the best me that I can be. And that is the best resistance I can give. And yeah, just like this refusal to be silenced and be a different me and to change who I am. Yeah, something I embrace.
Love that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that too. I physically I'm at like a 7 now. Definitely rose. Emotionally, I'm at like an 8.
Right on.
I'm definitely feeling a lot more settled, and like I think that nervousness is like basically just completely gone now, which is cool.
Awesome.
I think I feel much more like innately comfortable just asking you like very direct questions now without feeling as much of the eggshelliness.
Yeah.
Knowing that they'll be just direct and honest, and that the caution is felt and like it's understood, but it's also not like super fun. So as much as walking on eggshells like comes from a place of wanting to avoid hurting, being surrounded by cautious people walking on eggshells is itself kind of disconnecting, and that kind of sucks.
Yep. Exactly.
So yeah, I think I just feel a lot of respect, because obviously you've done a lot of hard things and just accepted you've accepted your truth, accepted that in many ways you had dealt a difficult hand, and just looked at the hand being like, okay, this is what I gotta do.
Yep.
Even though it's really hard, and you did it.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Damn.
There's a lot of fun and joy in it. Yeah. I'm extremely grateful for this help, this hand that I was dealt, and the journey I've been on, and the journey I will continue to be on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been fun.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing the journey.
Yeah.
With us, and
Thanks for listening.
everyone that's listening on the pod as well. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in again. And I think we'll call it there. So wherever you are listening from or watching from, have a good rest of your day or night, and we'll see you on the next one.
See ya.
And that's a wrap for season 2 of Vulnerability Junkies. We had a blast making these and hope you enjoyed listening to or watching them as well. Don't forget to let us know what you think in the comment section or an Instagram DM or any of the feedback forms linked below.
We especially want to know how you felt while you were watching or listening to these episodes. What do you wish was different? What should we keep the same? We really want to make season 3 even better, so we really appreciate all the feedback that you can give us.
And last but not least, don't forget to subscribe to find out when season 3 drops. We'll see you then.
See ya.
See ya.